So, first movie analysis. It's honestly strange how I'm just now talking about a movie. I mean, I've been in love with cinema since I was a kid, not just with films, but with the filmmaking process. The score, the visuals, the sounds, everything that encompasses bringing this to this. For this reason, there's no better first movie to look into than Robocop, the original. This movie has it all: a visceral aesthetic, profound themes, and what first got me hooked, a creative spirit behind the scenes that I've yet to see in another movie. I'm gonna start by saying that, as my youthful and whippersnapping voice suggests, I didn't watch this movie when it first came out. I watched it last year. The one I did watch on release and that I even had on Blu-ray was the reboot. It was cool as hell as a kid and Joel Kinnaman was a badass. However, upon rewatch it falls hard. Despite having a top-tier cast, they're not allowed to excel, just to make do. I would have loved to see Kinnaman reach the acting heights he did in Altered Carbon, which, by the way, do yourself a favor and go watch it, than a Robocop story. It's like it didn't get why the original was so groundbreaking. But enough bickering about me and the reboot. Let's explore why this 38-year-old piece of art remains yet to be surpassed. In other words, let me tell you why it's still the fucking bomb. 1987 Robocop, directed by the man, the legend, Paul Verhoeven, opens with a news report. They do world building in a satirical tone that complements its themes. And honestly, just info dump in a really cool way. They introduce the political landscape, central characters, and stuff like that. The film follows Alex Murphy, a police officer in the Detroit Police Department. The movie delves a bit into the role of policing of society, as well as its privatization and militarization, through OCP. Omni Consumer Products as an entity and as a concept is the antagonist of the movie, a corporation that deals in war and consumism. They own the police department but handle it in such a way that crime is prevalent. I mean, the department looks like shit and male and female officers have to get butt naked in front of each other.
Naked, huh?
So yeah, they're not doing a very good job. In fact, they never call it law enforcement, they call it crime management. Bear that detail in mind. The original puts a focus on Alex Murphy before he's Robocop. Joel Kinnaman in the reboot, for the little bit we see him as a regular police officer, is just his regular badass self. While Peter Wellers looks like a down-to-earth and cool guy. Not a badass movie cop, but a regular everyday cop. In a hellhole of a city, mind you. He's partnered with Officer Ann Lewis, played by Nancy Allen. Besides being a hot 1980s woman, she's a brilliantly used supporting character. Through a lot of the movie, Lewis serves as a stand-in for the audience. Much like us in the beginning, she's just meeting Murphy and getting to know him. They get coffee, talk a bit, and even shows her a gun trick he's trying to perfect for his son.
Yeah, well, my son Jimmy watches this cop show, DJ Laser, and this laser guy does this every time he takes down a bad guy, so naturally my kid thinks every good cop should be...
And you don't want to disappoint?
Yeah, well, role models can be very important to a boy.
215, third mall. Proceed to Gans Pharmaceutical Company on blind. Assist unit 229.
Okay, I get a kick out of it.
This humanizes him and gets you rooting for him before he's killed, which is a scene that also serves a violently purposeful purpose. Unlike the 2014 version where a car just goes boom and that's it, here you get a scene with rising tension that makes the audience feel uneasy, as you know this is not gonna end well. His actual killing, which may initially seem as just gore for the sake of gore, is actually brilliant. It establishes these chumps and Clarence Boddicker as threats, and gets us hating them. It makes us feel as powerless as Murphy, which will be important later on. And lastly, if you weren't rooting for this guy the last 20 minutes, you certainly are now. I really like this scene in particular because it's truly gruesome, but it's intelligent, and it knows what it's trying to do. Fun fact, this was the last scene filmed, because the crew ran out of money, so they finished everything else, showed it to the execs, and after seeing how goddamn awesome it was, they dropped a few more million and made Murphy's death happen. So this scene, well, it was quite literally icing on the cake. By the way, if you're enjoying the video thus far, I'd appreciate if you liked and subscribed, as YouTube says 86.5% of you are not subscribed. Also, don't forget to leave a comment with your favorite scene in the movie and your credit card information. For legal purposes, that's a joke. Everything in this introduction is as effective as it comes. Before the 25-minute mark, we know everything and everyone we need to know. The brilliance of the plot is in its simplicity and how efficiently it uses its runtime to establish everything, from each character's nature to the grit and decrepity of the world they live in. What follows is Murphy's organic death, visions of his wife and son, his life, and ultimately of his death, Clarence Boddicker and his band of buffoons. Then we get his cybernetic birth, so to speak. Gone is his clear vision, now replaced with a camera and sensors. Gone are the doctors trying to save him, now replaced with execs and scientists who give so little shits about him that they discard the arm they could save from his body like it's a piece of trash.
We were able to save the left arm.
What? I thought we agreed on total body prosthesis. Now lose the arm, okay?
Gone are the memories of his wife and son. Only thing that's left are the prime directives.
Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law.
And there's also a fourth one, but don't worry about that yet. As Robocop enters the police station, we see Lewis again. We find ourselves in the same boat as her, asking, what the fuck is going on? The framing of these shots create in the audience the same feeling these cops are having. A feeling of the unknown, of wonder, showing Robocop as somewhat of a Frankenstein monster, with his presence accompanied by the iconic sounds of his footsteps. The sound design department cooked all the way through. All of this makes him leaving fully in frame in the car even more glorious, heroic even with the movie's main theme going hard in the background. One of the curious things behind these car scenes is that Peter Weller is in his underwear in them. The whole suit didn't fit in the car, so they had to improvise. The suit brought a bunch of problems in general, but they managed to work around them and work them into the movie in the most creative ways. Some were more tedious, like them having to do 50 takes of Robocop catching the keys because the gloves were ass, and others ended up being iconic in the final film. For example, the lack of mobility, which gave way to his distinct robotic walk. What comes next is pretty much a power trip, a showcase of Robocop's abilities and strengths while showing more of the city's retrofuturist ambience. Something I found curious is how this rendition of Detroit is exactly what I'd imagine Frank Miller's Gotham City would look like, especially in The Dark Knight Returns. The movie also shares some scenes with the book, like when Robo grabs the guy from behind a wall, which is pretty close to the I Believe You scene from The Dark Knight Returns. The two also overlap on the news report scenes, which talk about similar themes, war, while not entirely relating to the main plot, which is interesting because Miller ended up writing comics for Robocop and the screenplay for the next two movies, to varying degrees of success.
Bruh.
This just goes to show how important world building is in film. There's not just the political landscape built by the news reports and recurring pop culture within the film.
I'd buy that for $1.
I'd buy that for $1.
6,000 SUX.
A new 6,000 SUX! 6,000 SUX!
This was funny as hell because the whole point is that it's a piece of shit car, but everyone's so dumb they're crazy about it. There's a visual aesthetic and a feel to the city. The fact that there's also no confirmed date in which the movie takes place adds to the feeling of timelessness. And it doesn't really matter because the city's authenticity allows the time period to be irrelevant. After this crazy power ride, shit goes south. Robocop, OCP's inhuman crime-fighting machine, has a dream of Murphy's death, of his death. So he gets pressed and bounces, but not before Lewis can plant a bit more doubt in his metal head.
Murphy, it's you. You really don't remember me, do you?
She's rooting for Murphy, trying to get him to remember who he is like we want to. He then runs into one of the guys who killed him and spirals even more. It's fascinating, after watching him all-powerful and robotic, to see cracks forming, seeing him falter and overwhelmed, which comes to a head when he returns to his old home, emotion finally taking over. Peter Weller kills it here as his usual stiff movements are now erratic, and for the first time, there's true emotion on his face, not the deadpan look we've seen so far, no. This time his face is contorting with anger and grief, the humanity that OCP tried so hard to dispose of climbing back to the surface. When he tracks down Clarence and the rest of his chumps, the stakes are reversed as to his death. He's got the upper hand, he's got the power, and he clears through the room like one of those Watch Dogs John Wick gameplay videos. But he still remains shackled by his directives. He's not Murphy, he's Robocop, a machine and a product. Then one thing sort of leads to another and he ends up trying to arrest the dick from OCP. Parallel to Murphy's story, the film shows the inner workings of OCP, the corporate disputes and how morally decrepit this company is. In the first OCP scene we're introduced to this guy, Ed 209, a testament to the creativity of the crew behind the movie. This guy, as you can tell, looks a bit off, because he had to be made in stop motion due to technology limitations. This is what he meant at the beginning. The movie's ambition, coupled with the limitations of their time, was a perfect storm.
These motherfuckers cooked and they were born like 40 years too early.
The Ed 209 project, led by Dick Jones, the VP of OCP, goes to hell and kills a fucking guy in front of them all, tainting a scale model in blood. Symbolizing the Delta City, a new city that the company was trying to build, is, well, tainted. Anything that is made by OCP is made from blood. This one scene makes it all clear and also shows even further how the society is so disaffected that they don't really give a shit a guy just got blown to pieces in front of them. Rather, it shows Bob Mortem,
who's another shitty guy,
take advantage of the situation to kickstart the Robocop program, getting lucky with Murphy's death soon after. When Robo tries to apprehend Dick Jones, the fourth secret prime directive is revealed, which is not to arrest any OCP executives. This was an insurance made because, as I said at the beginning, OCP is in the crime management business. In other words, they're the fucking criminals. And that fourth prime directive was the way to keep Robocop on a leash. With Bob already killed by Clarence on Dick's orders, Dick tries to destroy Robo through Ed 209, who almost succeeds, but fails due to his greatest weakness, stairs. Now Robo's sort of outlawed and the cops are ordered to destroy him. As we're on the edge of our seats waiting for the hero to find a way out, guess who shows up? Lewis. She helps him and they book it. Lewis, by this point, is one of the best supporting characters in film history. Lewis is what you call a real one. When they're in safety, we get the most character-heavy scene, Robo's unmasking. It's visceral and alien watching him remove those long screws in his head, and seeing Alex Murphy's stretched out face longing for his family, or Murphy's family. He's confused, and so are we. Is he Murphy, or is he something else, made from Murphy?
Murphy had a wife and son. What happened to them?
She thought you were dead. She started over again.
I can feel them. But I can't remember them.
It's phenomenal acting from Weller, and the uncanny look of his face shows the prop and makeup team's talent. Unlike the reboot, which had Murphy's face exposed looking goofy most of the movie, here it's treated with weight, impact, and respect. It's a symbol of humanity, of the Alex Murphy still within Robocop. Now comes the third encounter between Clarence, his band of fools, and Robocop. Except this time, he's with Lewis, and with his face exposed, like the first time. Except now they have a fighting chance, and they win. This is what you call payoff. They spent the entire movie building these guys up as douchebags and degenerates, and now our heroes beat them in the same violent fashion in which they killed Murphy. One of them, Emil, is disfigured after taking a bath in some toxic waste, mirroring the body horror of Alex's death. Clarence is stabbed by Murphy with his data spike, and we finally have a sense of justice. This man is one of the most scummy and nearing subhuman piece of shit characters in cinema. Psychotic, selfish, greedy, sadistic, and the crazy part was he outdid himself every fucking time he was on screen. So after everything Murphy's been through because of them, their deaths feel earned. These sons of bitches are dead, and the audience is satisfied.
They'll fix you. They fixed everything.
The final showdown at OCP sees everything crashing down for Dick. He takes the old man hostage, but it's for nothing. His confession is aired to the board, and the fourth prime directive rendered useless when the old man fires him.
Thank you.
He holsters his gun, the trick he was trying to learn for his son now perfected. Finally, the old man addresses him, not as machine but as man.
Nice shooting, son. What's your name?
Murphy.
Robocop has found his humanity again, resurfaced as Alex fucking Murphy. The movie, the story is whole, full, complete. It's a hero's journey from beginning to end, with everything the movie had set up ultimately paying off, remaining a classic and one of the best action movies and dramas ever. Having watched movies by Denis Villeneuve, Tarantino, Kubrick, Scorsese, never would I have thought I'd end up falling in love with Paul Verhoeven's Robocop. But I did, and I say it proudly. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. What movie, game, show, comic, or piece of media would you like me to cover next? Thank you for staying until the end. Stay nefarious, brothers, and I'll see you in Honduras.
Mi bomba!